Washington Commanders 24, Atlanta Falcons 16. Commanders moving to 3-3 here. Falcons fall to 3-3. Had an opportunity to grab first place in the NFC South. Man, the roller coaster ride of Desmond Ritter at quarterback, I think, is the story here for the Falcons. 3 interceptions in this game. So we went in London, multiple pick game just 2 weeks ago. Last week, plays probably the best game of his career. It was at home. He had been undefeated at home since grade school or whatever it was. And he finally loses at home in a game where, I don't know if it was just the Fox broadcast or whatever, just kept capturing Arthur Smith and his reactions after every single pick. And it was a lot of hands on your head. What are you doing on those interceptions? So Ritter ends up with 3 picks. Washington forced him, of course. But that was very much the story of the game. Falcons had the ball a lot, drove a bunch, and could not put points on the board.
Yeah. It was almost like the really good game from Ritter kind of gave him like a misplaced confidence in his own abilities. It's like, I got this.
Like, for perspective, right? Time of possession, it just tells like a game flow story, not a domination story or anything. But Falcons had the ball for 36 minutes. Commanders only 23. Falcons had 402 total yards. Commanders had 193. So they were under 200 yards. So the Falcons having 400 yards, but not converting on third downs enough, and of course the turnovers, like those are the obviously the things that end up being the difference in the game.
Yeah. There was one bizarre play where, you know, the way we said that Bijan Robinson must lead to the league in one-handed catches? It's almost like he's so conditioned to them now. He went what looked like a really well-thrown Desmond Ritter pass. He like dived at it in the air, tried to OBJ one-handed pluck it out of the sky. I'm like, okay, even for somebody that's gotten quite used to one-handed catches, that is aggressively optimistic. And maybe you want to try and catch that more conventionally.
Didn't OBJ go through that phase where it felt like he was trying to one-hand too many? Like, let's just make a spectacular catch.
Maybe.
I felt like other receivers have gone through that phase of let me one-hand everything instead of just making the play that's there. Drake London continues to ball out. Like I said, the Falcons offense, like if you take out the turnovers and look what they were able to do offensively, getting Drake London involved. They got Kyle Pitts involved in the red zone, scheming him open in the red zone for a touchdown. Amazing. Jonnu Smith finds the end zone. They are difficult covers, but you've got a tight red zone pick by Ritter. I mean, just too many turnover-worthy plays for Ritter, and it just offsets what this offense was able to do.
Yeah, 2 very unusual quarterbacks in this game. Sam Howell had one of his better passes dropped by Jahan Dotson, was probably a touchdown that would have made the game look even, more, or would have been even more comfortable. Obviously, Sam Howell's problem is the sacks still continues being a thing. This was a smaller problem in this game than it has been in others, but still pretty significant.
I mean, because they won. He got sacked on 5 out of 30 dropbacks. That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's a crazy high number. And he ran into. I looked through the 5. He was. I don't know what we've charted exactly, but I saw him directly responsible for 3 out of 5, like just running into the defense, and then the other 2. Probably avoidable.
Right.
A little bit of pressure, and then the guy who got the sack, it wasn't actually the offensive lineman who gave up the pressure. So it's going to look like the O-line didn't actually give up sacks necessarily. But yeah, 5 on 30 dropbacks is not great.
Like Calais Campbell reached 100 career sacks in this game.
Yeah.
But I was writing he might hit 110 by the end of the game, just the way Sam Howell plays. Like, it's madness. But this was the kind of game, like this game was Sam Howell in an absolute nutshell, which is outside of the sacks, it's good.
Yeah.
Like, he makes a lot of really nice plays. Some of the sort of balance and body control and scrambling and bouncing off people is good. And then generally he doesn't actually make that many mistakes with the ball outside of that nightmare game he had earlier in the year. But the sacks is just every now and again there's way more negative plays than there should be. And those are drive-killing plays sometimes, right? And it's like it's a negative. It's generally a preferable negative to a guy that's just airmailing the ball to the defense constantly. But it's a curious flaw that it does seem to be like completely inherent in him. Like, I'm not sure you can get rid of that. That's something that's always been there from his play. It's a weird characteristic of his game throughout college, in different offenses, and in the NFL now. Part of his makeup, part of his profile as a quarterback is he just walks into sacks constantly. And like, those don't show up in box scores as, they don't impact your passer rating, but they torpedo drives, offensive drives for teams, right? And those are negative plays that he has to overcome that other guys don't.
I tweeted about the 5 sacks and how I didn't really think that it was the offensive line's issue. Coming into the game, the Washington pass blocking grade ranked 9th in the league.
Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to pile on Sam Howell. I'm just trying to add proper perspective to the sack totals are largely him. On the other hand, when he throws the ball, it is awesome, right? He threw the ball extremely well yesterday, as you had said. And when I was tweeting through this yesterday, somebody pulled out a comp. And he said, is this just like Rob Johnson? Remember Rob Johnson at all? Of course I do, because he had that one great game with the Jaguars. We reference him here on the show every now and then. But when he went to Buffalo, remember he was battling Doug Flutie. Mm-hmm. And I think this was before you really, like, you knew when a guy gets sacked 5 or 6 times in a game, it was bad. But a lot of times it was like, well, the line's bad. And then Flutie would come in and not get sacked, And it was like, well, Rob Johnson throws the ball well. And the Bills want Rob Johnson to be the quarterback, probably because when he throws it, it's awesome. It looks good. It's pretty. It's accurate. Throws the ball really well. But he keeps getting sacked 4, 5, 6 times a game. And I was like, wow, that's actually an awesome comp for right now for the way maybe Sam Howell's playing.
Even now, I don't think people have any real perception in terms of how much quarterbacks influence that sack rate, right? Like, so the David Carr thing, rather. David Carr, up until this season, was the all-time single-season most sacked quarterback ever, right? Now, that was an expansion team, offensive line in Houston. It was almost certainly garbage, but none of us have any idea how much of that was David Carr. And I suspect a lot more than people think it was, right? How much he was causing that. And there's something too, like Dan Marino went over 700 dropbacks one time without a sack. That's not because Miami had the greatest offensive line that was ever assembled by man. I'm sure they had a good offensive line, but Dan Marino never took sacks. He's the opposite end of the spectrum from Sam Howell. And it makes a huge impact. Like, Washington's pass blocking efficiency as an offensive line is 12th in the NFL. And that's with him creating this extra pressure that, just by holding on to the ball too long, dillying in the pocket, and making their lives more difficult. They're the 12th best pass blocking offensive line in the NFL by simple pass blocking efficiency metrics. And yet he's on pace to be sacked more than any human that's ever walked the earth. Like, it's wild how bad he is at that.
So on the other side, I just want to circle back to what I thought the difference is. I'm going to go pick on Ritter again.
Cool.
What was the difference in the game? Fourth quarter, you have a pick to end it with 31 seconds left. It was a desperation down 8, last second drive that ends in an interception. But fourth quarter, about 5 minutes left. It's 3rd and 7 on the goal line, and Ritter just kind of throws it up, man. I don't even know what the entire concept was. Drake London's kind of running a fade to, the middle-ish, not the middle of the end zone, but it's a tight split, and he's running a fade. And the pass is nowhere near him. All-out blitz from Washington, and he just chucks it up. And that was the hands on the head. That was this reaction.
Surrender Cobra.
Surrender Cobra. That's yeah. Arthur was not pleased. And then I think it was Jamin Davis that had the game-clinching interception. He whooped Bijan on a slant. Whooped him on a slant and picked it off. Really nice game by Jamin Davis in Washington. The other thing that was notable by the Commanders, Emmanuel Forbes did not play in this game. Active, but did not play. Remember, the rookie was a number 15 pick overall, whatever he was. Really struggling early in the season. They're trying to figure out how to get his confidence back.
Benching him, that'll do it.
A healthy scratch, as they say. And, Washington did look better. And Washington did a really nice job bottling up Atlanta's run game. Creative run game, and, one that had been getting, players in space and everything. You got Tyler Algier and Bijan. Bijan averaged under 3 yards per carry. Tyler Algier a little under 4. So Washington did a nice job up front, stopping the run.
It was also a bizarre sequence. Atlanta was down, I think, 8 late in the game, 5 minutes ago-ish, they had this long drive that had chewed up like half the quarter. They're now down by the goal line, and they get delay of game, right? What is it, 3rd and 2, down by at the 2-yard, 3rd and goal at the 2. Delay of game, backed up, 3rd and 7. They sort of, this was an interception, but they almost got delay of game again, like consecutive plays where they just couldn't get to the line of scrimmage to run a play. Down 8, goal to go. It's like, what is this? This is one of the most inept sequences of offense you're ever going to see. And then backed it up by then throwing an interception on that play as well. It's like, God, I mean, okay, whatever about just occasional bad decisions. This is a whole sequence of completely inept offense that you can't win with.